Victory! Victory on the Witcher television show. But first, before I get into that, want to issue a correction on my previous video. I was incorrect about Big Mouth being, quote, targeted at kids. And you've let me know in the comment section of that video. I still find that to be a little SJW and a show that I will most definitely not be watching. But you've got to correct yourself when you screw up, and I was wrong. Just looks like a show that some people seem to like that has some SJW influence, but I guess I'm told not that much. So my bad. Sometimes when you have daily videos, you screw up, and that's on me. Fortunately, that video was demonetized anyway. So here goes a unplanned third video in hopes to maybe shake some shekels from the shekel tree. And here goes nothing. So if you remember the Witcher television series, we know the cast, or the crew, writing the show, are super woke. There's really no denying it. But with the casting of Henry Cavill, I was a little on the fence about how the show would do, because I'm kind of, how do I put it? When you cast somebody that's kind of bigger than the role in like a normie's opinion, like when you cast Ben Affleck as Batman, it's hard for me to like not see Batman, or not see Ben Affleck every time I see Batman. I guess that's just the way it is. But for me, Henry Cavill is sketch. But they were looking to hire a young black Asian, a Banff, I guess. They were looking to race bend Siri in the show. A clearly woke move, but we got good news. The community spoke up against this, and I get that it's a dicey thing, right? Because it's like, we won, she's white. That I'm sure will get clipped, but it is a victory against what was clearly an attempt to wokeify The Witcher, a story with an existing storyline, an existing lore, and existing reasoning culturally why Ciri would be white in the first place. So we've got Freya Allan and Anya Charlatra will star as Ciri, and Yennefer opposite Henry Cavill's Geralt of Rivia. Netflix Witcher series has found as Yennefer and Ciri. Freya Allan from War of the Worlds and Into the Badlands, and Anya Carlotta from the ABC Murders and Wanderlust join Henry Cavill as Ciri and Yennefer, respectively, in their upcoming fantasy series based on the series of novels by Polish author and money grubber Andrzej Sapkowski. The books previously inspired the best-selling video game franchise by Warsaw-based studio CD Projekt Red. I haven't seen any update, by the way, from that pending lawsuit where the author of the book series is suing CD Projekt Red for something like $16 million, if I remember the right number. We'll see how that turns out. But Lauren Smith, who previously served as producer on Netflix's Daredevil and The Defenders, will run the show and executive produce alongside House of Cards and Game of Thrones Alec Sarkov. Last month, Hisrich took a break from social media following backlash from an outspoken set of fans over leaked casting note calling for Black, Asian, and minority ethnic actresses for the role of Ciri. The casting call was just one of many for the role. Hisrich explains she was casting a large net for potential actresses. On September 10th, she tweeted, "It's time for a Twitter hiatus. The love here is amazing. The hate is enlightening. And the real-life trial of the grasses, except I have to read less and write more." or we won't have a damn finale. Be back with more insight and more roach. Be nice to each other. Okay, that I thought was a fine, a fine way. And she's not wrong. She probably does need to focus on the show. But the interview, casting process, how long the road was. We hired a casting director in June and been working really intensely since. We have hit this point, cast about 50 people. It really ranged. There were some people who I had in mind the minute I started writing the character, and the other characters. Siri is a perfect example. Take a really exhaustive search. We ended up seeing over 200 young women from all over Europe and really saw a great group of girls. But in the end, we met Freya. She read for another role. I actually went to London to meet with her in person, and we knew right away. Now, the role of Siri specifically caused a bit of backlash. Why do you think certain fans, the alt-right, of course, reacted this way? It boils down. This is going to be good. This is my first read-through on this, so it should be interesting. It boils down to a couple of things. Let's see. One, this property has such a passionate fan base. I think that any leak at all was going to attract this type of attention. And with the attention comes backlash to that attention. I do think that whatever information is trickling out there will be people responding positively to it and people responding negatively to it. I think that's just part of making a television show, and especially a show this big. In terms of why people responded so strongly, I think the fans really have a picture of these characters in their minds, and I don't blame them for that. Whoa! I like this response. I think this is a good response so far. I get it. When I read my favorite books, I certainly imagine characters a certain way. There's obviously a couple of lines of description of Siri in the books, and people become very enamored with their own vision of it. I think coming in as a writer and saying my vision might look different than yours is scary for fans, but truthfully, I don't think it has to be. One of the things I felt strongly about people being afraid that we were going to strip out the culture context for The Witcher to remove its Slavic roots, the very thing in Poland, people in Poland are proud of. That couldn't be further from the truth. What I've always wanted to do is to take these Slavic stories and give them a global audience. Interesting. They go on to ask, do you specifically pull from the book series, or do you also draw inspiration from the Witcher games? Does that muddy the waters a bit to draw from too many sources? It does muddy the waters a little bit for me. I'm a huge fan of the games. That being said, what I really tried to steer away from is that the video games right now are the sole visual representation of these stories. What we need to create our own visual representation. As I've been developing the series, I've actually pulled back from playing the video games because I wanted to make sure we were creating its own unique thing. Okay, so there is some hope here. Looks like we dodged a woke bullet on The Witcher, but it's interesting to me. I guess if I had this type of creative position where I could just say, like, have total creative control, there would be some part of me that doesn't want to just make it like the video game in real life. However, you have a gigantic built-in audience with both the books and the video games, and I question somebody who, and I may be oversimplifying here, but tries to do too much, thinks that they're better than the existing narrative, because that's where you can lose your existing fan base, right? The reason The Witcher gets greenlit is because of the gigantic video game audience as well as book audience. So if you go on taking too many creative freedoms because you think you know better, what you're going to have is a gigantic disaster, which is what I think they might have been doing with hiring a BAMF. Make your stamp on it, right? A lot of people want to leave their impression, this is uniquely me. Taking Siri and making her, changing the color of her skin would have been something uniquely her. And I guess I understand that, but I'm pretty sure people would not have appreciated such a creative change. Now, are you reinvigorated to see The Witcher? Are you pumped for it now? I'm still very nervous. I don't think Netflix does really good with a lot of shows. I mean, some shows are good, but I'm on the fence. I'll probably watch it so I can talk about it on the channel. But are you looking forward to it more or less now? Does the showrunner's comments give you more or less confidence? Hopefully, you've enjoyed this family-friendly, I hope, video, and we'll see you on the live stream in just a few minutes.